Good morning, church. So it's pretty crazy to say that it's now been over a decade since I first entered the seminary to begin my journey towards the priesthood. So that happened in 2014, so over a decade ago. And I actually joined with four other guys, one of whom you would certainly recognize, this guy right here. That's a young buck, Father Isaac, right? And this picture was actually taken, I believe, on the very last day of our very first year. So we're super happy to have survived 1 year, and we're excited to begin a second year. Now, of the five of us who joined that year, actually only Father Isaac and I ended up becoming priests. So basically, from day one, we've been journeying together, right, side by side, just like you see here in the picture. Right? For the better part of 10 years, we've been living together, studying together, ministering together. And even up until today, right? Here we are at this parish assigned as baby priests together, right? So, as you can imagine, over the years, I've really gotten to know Father Isaac pretty well, right? I can tell you about his family. I can tell you about his favorite hobbies, right? I can tell you that he's most definitely not a morning person, right? I can tell you what shampoo he uses, right? All these random details and facts about Father Isaac, right? By the way, for the right price, I can tell you more, right? Actually, even for a higher price, I can tell you about the big guy, right? Yeah, maybe what shampoo he uses, right? Okay, no, but more importantly, right? More than just random facts and details about Father Isaac's life, over the years, I've come to know who he is on a deeper level, right? His character. Like who he is as Isaac Longworth, the person. And I may not know every single detail about his life, because that's impossible, but I've come to know him on this deeper level than just random superficial facts. Right? And even at the risk of sounding cheesy, like I've come to know my brother's heart. Right? Who he really is, like what makes him him. And it's this deeper knowing about him that leads me to experience him as truly my brother, right? Not by blood, but nonetheless my brother. Now, when it comes to us knowing God, something similar is at play, right? There are 1,000,001 things we can know about God, right? There's books upon books, podcasts, videos, all sorts of resources about God and all things related to God. There's an entire area of study about God called theology. People get degrees, like doctorates and beyond, studying God to infinity. And even the Bible itself has so much to say about God that we can't possibly exhaust all that it has to say. But with all the possible facts and knowledge that we can know about God, what is at the core of who God is? Right? What is that thing that defines him, that thing that tells us who he is on the deepest level? I remember years ago when I was in university, I took a class on the major religions of the world. And I remember that as we studied the Abrahamic religions, the teacher proposed this oversimplified summary. She said that for those who practice the Islamic faith, God is power. That the main experience is God as supreme, almighty, all-powerful creator. And then she said for those who practice the Jewish faith, God is justice. The main experience is God as the source of the moral law, that he rewards and punishes what we freely choose to do according to that law. And as we learned about Islam and Judaism, I remember sitting there thinking, as Christians, we believe both these things, right? We believe that God is all-powerful and he's the creator. We believe that God is perfectly just, he gave us free will. But is that it? Are either of these really the main focus, like the most important and all-encompassing attribute of God? Is it all about power or all about justice? Or is there something more significant about God that these religions seem to be missing? Right? Like, what is God all about? And how are we supposed to experience it? Right? Because if it's all about power, then I'm left feeling fearful towards God and feeling distant from him. Or if it's all about justice, then I'm left feeling anxious towards God. Like I need to be perfect and I can't mess up. And that kind of experience just doesn't seem to be personally satisfying to how I was designed. Right? So is there something else that tells me more about who God really is? And this question stands, what is God all about? I think our first reading today gives us exactly what we're looking for in this question. So we hear this first reading that has some pretty peculiar, pretty like kind of slightly awkward language. I don't know if you guys caught it, but we hear from the prophet Isaiah, who is speaking to the people on God's behalf, right? And he says, you, the people, will be given a new name. Here's what he says, you shall be called, my delight is in her, and your land shall be called married. What in the world does that mean, right? Is this kind of like slightly awkward like language that's using, even the grammar itself doesn't seem to make sense, right? And you just take that at face value for a second, right? It's like saying from this point forward, your first name is now going to be my delight is in her, right? Imagine on name tag Sunday, you write that on your name tag, you're walking around here trying to meet people. You're going to get weird looks for sure, right? If I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give you a weird look, right? And then it says your land will be married. What does that mean? It's like saying your house is going to be married, your condo is going to have a wedding, right? It's this weird language, right? What does it all mean? And at face value, it seems like nothing but peculiar words. But below face value, there's something profoundly important here. Let's look at it again. So it says that a new name is given to the people. My delight is in her. And who's speaking here is God, right? So this is God's delight. And it says delight, this personal rejoicing, this taking pleasure in, this personal investment in the other. And you notice that it doesn't say God's tolerance or God's approval. It doesn't even say God's power or God's justice. It intentionally says God's delight. And God says to the people, this is now your new name. Right? Think of the function of your own name. Right? It signifies who you are. It sets you apart as you. And God's saying to the people, this is now your new name. From this point forward, this is the name that will signify who you are at your core. It will characterize you. It will give you your very identity. That God's delight in you is the defining factor of who you are. That's what this is saying. And then it says, your land will be married. Right? In those ancient days, land was extremely meaningful for the people. More than we could probably appreciate today. Right? For one, the people, they grew their own crops, they raised their own animals on the land. So naturally speaking, the land was their very source of sustenance. But even deeper than that, the land was extremely meaningful because it was part of God's original promise. Like God promised that He would give the people a land as their divine inheritance from Him. So the land that they possess now had spiritual significance. Right? It meant absolutely everything for them. It represented their livelihood. It even represented their identity as the people of God. And so here, God is saying that extremely meaningful land is going to be married. Right? That the people, their entire livelihood, everything about them will be deeply bonded to God in a marriage-like relationship. And so to put it simply, what we're seeing in these words is that God is revealing His heart and His desire. Right? His heart is one of delight in His people. He's pleased and He's full of joy in His people, not just mere tolerance or passive attention or distant approval, but delight, love. And His desire is this deep marriage-like relationship with His people. That's what Isaiah's words are revealing. That's what this marriage imagery is revealing, the fullness of God's heart and the fullness of God's desire. And then Isaiah goes further still. He says, "For as a young man marries a young woman, so shall your builder marry you." Again, notice, it doesn't say your builder shall enslave you or hire you or enter into contract with you. It says marry you. this relationship of love, right? As if to say, your builder, the all-powerful, perfectly just God who created you, who designed you, who knows you through and through, all that you do in and out, was not finished, was not satisfied at just creating you. Creation wasn't the end of his plan. The peak of God's plan, the number one thing he desires above all else is relationship, is union with his people. And the culmination of his heart, what fully defines his identity more than any other one of his attributes, is love. Nothing defines God more than love. That's what he's all about. And how do we know this to be absolutely true as Christians? Well, what is the most recognizable symbol of Christianity? It's the cross, right? The cross. And just look at the cross. Just stare at it for a second. What do you see? What does it communicate? A man crucified by his persecutors. Does that communicate power? In a mysterious way, maybe, but not primarily, right? An innocent man killed for sins he didn't commit. Does that communicate justice? In a mysterious way, maybe, but again, not primarily, right? When we look at the cross, we see God who has become man and has chosen to suffer out of love for his people. Only love brings any sense to the cross. And Jesus on the cross is the fullest revelation of God's heart. It communicates a God who is all about love. And it shows a God who pursues us at all costs to unite himself to us, to be in relationship with us, as he intended from the beginning. So yes, we believe in a God who is powerful, and a God who is just, but that isn't the deepest identity of God. And the cross is evidence that above all else, God is about love and about relationship. And if it is marriage-like relationship that God desires with us, then it means our experience of God in our lives is meant to be very similar to marriage, right? How many of us can say that our experience of God is akin to marriage? Do me a favor, close your eyes for a second. I want to propose to you a few questions that I want you to answer honestly in your own heart. Do I experience God as someone personally invested in my life, actively involved in all that I do? Do I experience God as this joyful personal presence, someone that I can enjoy and share life with in a real way? Do I experience God as providing for me and loving me in a tangible and personal way? Do I experience relationship with God as something that produces life in me, changes me, and renews me? Okay, you can open your eyes. See, friends, experiencing all of that is God's desire for us, God's desire with us. And really, until we experience God in this way, we're really only seeing a part of God's heart for us. We're really only knowing him in a partial way, and our experience is incomplete. So, how do you experience God in your life? As you hear this language of love and relationship, is it stirring you up to say, yes, that's how I experience God? Or is it stirring you up to say, I'm not quite there. Maybe something's missing in my life. And if right now you are sitting here and you're especially being stirred up to want to know more about what this is all about, to experience all that I've been talking about, I want to throw out an invitation to you today to try something that we do here at the parish called Alpha, which is starting up in just a few weeks. For those of you who have been here at St. Benedict Parish for any length of time, you've heard us talk about this, you know that this is one of the key things we do here at the parish. And if you're new or you've never heard about Alpha before, so very simply, it's a weekly gathering, a weekly opportunity to explore life and the Christian faith in a friendly, open, and casual environment. Right? It's for people of any and all backgrounds whatsoever. And it's a place to explore, to ask questions, to seek answers, all of that. And in particular, Alpha is designed in such a way as to help people come to know God, who He is, who He truly and fully is. And many people come and experience Alpha, and they walk away with this significantly deeper and more personal experience of God and His love. Even people who have been Christians their whole lives. Many others with little to no faith come and experience Alpha, and they come to discover God's heart for them. And that serves as the beginning of their journey with God. So I throw out this invitation to anyone and everyone who's listening today to try Alpha. Whether you've been a Christian for decades or your entire life, or today is the very first time you step foot in a church, I want to invite you to discover God's heart for you. To learn more about Him, yes, but more than that, to actually and personally experience what He's all about and the desire of His heart for you. My friends, the deepest identity of God is love. And His greatest desire is relationship. And my dream is that every single person here, in fact, every single person in the world, would come to know God's heart in this complete and personal way. To experience a life in relationship with Him that is incomparable to anything else.